Hello and welcome to this overview of Death Sails a Wine Dark Sea, the second book in the Mythspeaker adventure path for Pathfinder Second Edition. This video is aimed at GMs who want to run this adventure, providing you with general advice to prep this book, followed by a recap of each chapter. For each chapter, I will also provide suggestions and tips. We will then finish with a brief look at what lies ahead in this adventure path, so that you know what you could already foreshadow or need to be aware of as you guide your fledgling hero gods through this epic story. Needless to say, this video is filled to the brim with spoilers. If you're playing in a Mythspeaker campaign or expect to play in one soon, stop this video right now. Without further ado, let us set sail on this wine-dark sea. This book introduces rules for the creation and management of cults. The PCs start to assemble a small cult and will form a pantheon. The cult management system offers ways for the PCs to garner wealth and items and to establish their own faith in the world of Golarion. It is wise to read up on the rules for cults starting on page 63 of this book and sharing them with the players ahead of time. Managing this aspect of the game will become a lot easier if everyone knows how the system works. Also, it gives the players a chance to read up on the different mantles, helping them to make the decision when the time comes in the second chapter of this book. Thematically, this book is all about the PCs coming into their role as hero gods. The curse they are afflicted by drives them to seek ways to stabilize their mythic power, and the epic deeds they perform cement their status as larger-than-life individuals. As such, the main focus of the story should be the PCs and the challenges they overcome. However, on their journeys, they might gather information on what Attains is up to. Inhabitants of the various islands they pass by might speak of a steno who is gathering followers for a cult of Sangay. Also, the rival gang of Aki, Simone, and Ulshuk could already mention that they are working with Attains, and that soon there will be no more place for hero gods who do not pledge fealty to the sleeping titan. This allows you to mention Attains and highlight his influence and role in the campaign without taking away from the main focus of this book. Finally, I do want to mention that one section of Chapter 2 in this book involves a lot of really big bees. If you have players who might not enjoy a lot of images of bees, check in with them beforehand and maybe consider replacing any token or miniatures you use with other material, and to adjust your verbal descriptions. We all want to have fun at our tables, and taking your fellow players' comfort into consideration is one of the coolest things you can do as a GM. Chapter 1, Riddle of Immortality, begins roughly 1 week after the events of the campaign's first book. The heroes use this downtime to provide help all over Balax, the city still recovering. While helping civilians, the characters also notice that their mythic powers are drawing followers to them, and a small cult is slowly gathering around these new hero gods. However, trouble soon finds our heroes. The mythic energy that is the source of their power is also the origin of a curse that could end them. If the heroes do not find a way to deal with this curse of all-consuming hubris, their powers will destroy them before they can fulfill their heroic destiny. Luckily, the Mythspeaker Cyclops Skorgamos is more than willing to aid the adventurers and tries to perform a myth-speaking for them. Even though the threats of fate are frayed as all prophecy fails to work in the Age of Lost Omens, Skorgamos can see two things in the group's destiny: the Isle of Zaktilos, where the ruins of the once great Polzamni lie, and the Sphinx Neshkefru, who foresaw the end of Polzamni and tutored many heroes in the past. Skorgamos believes that she can help the heroes find a cure for their curse, and so they set sail towards Zaktilos. The journey is dangerous, and the heroes have to face a supernatural storm created by the jealousy of their rivals Aki, Simone, and Ulshuk, Eventually, they make it to the shores of Zaktylos, witnessing what remains of a once great city-state. In the ruins, the hero gods find Neshkefru, who is curious about these individuals who have acquired mythic power. Before she can offer help, the Sphinx is beset by horrible psychic visions. If the heroes help her calm down and overcome the mental torment, she explains that some great force has overpowered her temporarily. The only way to offer the character's guidance is through a method that is part of her very being: riddles. She tasks the heroes to learn of the 4 dooms that befell Polzamni and bring their answers to her. If they succeed, she can once more draw upon her powers and find a method to cure the adventurers of their curse. Neshkefru points them towards a nearby moor as the starting point for this search. In those moors, the heroes fight a god's rain-born hydra in a crumbling cave, a fight worthy of hero gods. As the hydra falls, 4 of its heads crawl away, each directing the heroes to a different area where they can learn about one of the 4 dooms that came to Polzamni. They will have to dive into the depth of a lake, descend into a volcanic fissure, and survive a makeshift maze as they learn more and more about the end of the city-state. Sharing their answers with Neshkefru, the Sphinx feels a great sense of relief as the heroes answering her riddles stabilize her prophetic visions and the path of the future become more clear to her. She sees that the heroes need to learn from the hero gods that came before them and venture into the underworld to meet with their spirits. To survive such a journey, they need to drink ambrosia, the secrets of its brewing to be found on the island of Mythic. Also, finding their way back from the underworld requires a temple for their cult, so their prayers and supplications can act as a beacon guiding them back to the overworld. Neshkefru knows a suitable structure can be found on Vavelos, but the island must first be cleared of its deadly mist by calling for the voice of the wind from the peak of a mountain. Armed with that knowledge and some parting gifts from the Sphinx, the heroes leave Zaktylos and set sail towards the next steps in their quest to tame the mythic might inside of them. This chapter is great at establishing the theme for this entire book, being all about the PCs learning to control their powers. Having the curse of all-consuming hubris as a driving force is a nice mechanical way to keep the PCs on track, as they can only get rid of it by completing the quest ahead of them. Chapter 1 also includes some great mythic deeds for the PCs to show their supernatural powers. The Troubled Waters mythic deed on their way to Zaktylos shows the mythic might of their rivals, but also allows the characters to describe over-the-top ways of how their player characters deal with these events. Like any mythic deed, allow your players to get creative and heroic, doing cool things that would usually be reserved for higher-level, non-mythic PCs. Another mythic deed in this chapter is the Hydra battle on Zaktylos. Not only is a Hydra an impressive foe, but its wild thrashing in the cave causes rocks to fall, which can deal 2d6 of damage to everyone in the cave every single round. This certainly is the perfect stage for a mythic fight, in which the heroes are not just fighting a monster, but also deal with the dangerous environment. This encounter can already be pretty challenging, but I feel the Hydra should use the mythic template. The book describes it as being born from a clutch of serpents that feasted on the god's rain, so making it mythic definitely fits the lore. The remove a condition mythic ability would make it an even beefier creature, adding to how epic this encounter can be. This chapter also includes a number of islands the PCs can find on their journey to Zaktylos. If you are tracking XP, these are a good way to fill in any XP the PCs might have missed in the first book. When using milestone leveling, you could use 1 or 2 of these as a little bit of filler, or to showcase how many islands there are in Iblydos. As the book suggests, you can also use these locations at any other point in the adventure, since this will certainly not be the last time the heroes sail across the azure oceans. As the PCs travel all over Zaktylos to find answers to Neshkefru's riddle, make it clear how the dooms that came for Polzamni were caused by the folly of hero gods and mortals. This quest serves as a way for the PCs to learn that perhaps the greatest curse to befall any hero god is actual hubris, and that no matter how great their power will become, they can still fall from their lofty heights and take innocent people with them. You could ask the players about how their characters think of these dooms and how they would have dealt with them. Neshkefru could also ask this in character, as she tries to gauge the worth of these new hero gods. Giving both players and player characters these chances to think about their growing power is totally in line with this book's theme of coming into their role as hero gods. Knowing now what needs to be done to tame their mythic essences, the party leaves Zaktalos and sails the Obari Ocean once more. Yasminai assists the heroes in navigating to their destinations, and the events of the chapter Food of the Gods begin. On Moilios, the heroes find out that the God's Reign has caused bees to grow into massive proportions, and these creatures have now built a gigantic hive on the outstretched arms of two massive statues. A statue of the hero god Antoya, a part of her intelligence awakened within it, can assist the adventurers in brewing divine ambrosia if they can bring her honey from the new hive, but also a larval queen and royal jelly. Crossing a field of huge flowers, perhaps even hitching a ride on the back of one of the horse-sized bees, the heroes begin their infiltration of the hive. They must evade bee guards and drones as they quietly gather honey, royal jelly, and a larval queen. Once they have all the ingredients, they return to the statue of Antoya, where they brew the ambrosia they need to survive their journey into the world below. To clear the deadly stench covering Vavelos, the heroes need to journey to the pinnacle of winds on Iblydos. After climbing its height, they meet the Anemos Avalis on its peak. Avalis could clear the miasma off of Vavelos with their vortex pouch, but they gave it long ago to Ultnir. A hero god of Polzamni, Ultnir tried to establish a mining colony deep beneath the earth of the island Koikolos, and wanted to use the vortex pouch to bring breathable air to it. However, the air from the pouch caused the pressure in the caves to rise, and falling debris turned it into the grave of Ultnir. On Koikolos, the heroes find this cave, where the vortex pouch's air is causing a rhythmic whistling that delights a group of earth elementals. The heroes could take the pouch by force, or trade these living landslides for some other musical implement. No matter how they acquire the pouch, the adventurers can then use it with Avalis' help to clear the toxic miasma on Vavelos and set sail towards their final destination of this chapter. On Vavelos, the heroes find an old, abandoned temple haunted by the deeds of those who build it. The Minotaur hero god Karskios, a fiend hunter, had this temple erected and used it also to imprison dangerous creatures. One of them was a Perkeon, a kind of asura that would reincarnate if Karskios and his cult killed it. Instead, they imprisoned the creature beneath the temple. However, the Perkeon whispered deceit and lies into Karskios and his followers, telling them that for every fiend the hero god had defeated, 5 had sworn vengeance and were planning to destroy the cult from within. This deception reached its height when the hero god's followers released a toxic miasma in an attempt to purge all evil from the island. Instead, it killed all faithful of Karskios and shrouded the temple ever since. The Perkeon remains here still, meditating and planning its next moves. The heroes will have to overcome the remaining threats of the temple and the maze beneath, and decide what to do with the Perkeon. The creature will try to get on the heroes' good side in an attempt to slowly lead them to their downfall over the coming years. Fortunately, the spirit of one of the cultists will try to warn the party about the Perkeon and its deceiving ways, as the lost soul slowly regains his memories of the tragedy that unfolded here. Once the temple has been cleared and the heroes decide what to do with the Perkeon, they have all they need to plan their descent into the underworld and find a cure for their curse of all-consuming hubris. The events of this chapter can be completed in any order, though the one described just now will probably make the most sense to the players. It is possible for the players to head to Vavelos before they have acquired the Vortex Pouch, but then they have to deal with the toxic miasma in other ways. The adventure describes methods to do so, though they will make exploring Vavelos significantly more dangerous for the PCs. This chapter also introduces the PCs to the first members of their growing cult, and the players to the cult management system. Make sure to read up on that system, and give the players a chance to read it before this section. Each PC will pick a mantle for their cult, so it makes sense to share the rules for cult management with the players, allowing them to make informed choices and taking some of the burden of running the system off of the GM. Vavelos is the designated location for the party's cult temple, and the adventure assumed the cult will slowly establish this temple as its headquarters. If you and your players would rather have their cult's HQ elsewhere, the temple on Vavelos could just serve as a beacon the PCs can use to find their way back from the underworld in Chapter 3. Feel free to have the cult's actual headquarters be elsewhere if it makes more sense for your group. I want to briefly shout out the epic narration sidebar on page 32. It raises a good point that a section like climbing the pinnacle of winds can feel tedious instead of heroic when all the players do is perform one skill check after the other. Instead, invite your players to describe the mythic actions they perform to heroically ascend, turning this part of the adventure into another part of their growing legend. The advice from this sidebar can be applied to other sections as well. Whenever you feel things are too much about the nitty-gritty of dice roll results, consider if you can replace a few of those rolls with some epic narration instead. Chapter 3, Two Fields Below, is dedicated to the final trial the party must complete in order to stabilize their mythic essences and become true hero gods. After clearing out the temple on Vavelos, followers of the new hero gods flock to the island and establish a base. The presence of those loyal to the new cult will ultimately aid the heroes in their return from the underworld, but first they must find a way to get to the land known as Amneros. The heroes use their own knowledge and that of the Tide Hunter's crew to learn of Rekesto, a semi-divine sea monster that roams the straits of the archipelago. Sailing into its maw is a method of entering Amneros. The party helps the crew of the Tide Hunter ready to ship for such a dangerous deed and set out to find the titanic beast. Overcoming a dangerous whirlpool created by the sheer size of Rekesto, the adventurers sail into its massive maw and into Amneros. This hollowed-out cavern is beyond the universe, nestled into Pharasma's spire. Ruled by the Gigas Amnerion, the souls of those who die on Iblydos are drawn here, before they make their way towards the Boneyard and Pharasma's final judgment. Amneros slowly strips away its inhabitants' memories, an effect the heroes are protected from for a week after consuming the ambrosia. This means that they have to hurry, though, especially because time moves strangely in this realm of the dead. Traveling through Amneros, the heroes will have many chances to learn more about the nature of their mythic powers. They can study in the Hall of Historic Dead, learn from the souls of former hero gods in the glades of Euphoria, and even meet Amnerion themselves to find help in breaking their curse. In the end, the lessons learned in Amneros will rid the hero gods of their curse, but also reveal that the Titan Sange is stirring. In her final vision, the spirit of the hero god Amphelia reveals that the Titan has to be returned to slumber or slain with the blade known as Erekostes. Armed with this knowledge and stable mythic powers, the adventurers must fully cement their divine blessing by leaving the underworld alive. Returning to the overworld on Vavelos, the heroes find their temple and cult under attack. They have to repel a group of Lamia led by Encelidi, who have come to kill the fledgling hero gods and bathe in their blood to heal their own curse. The young hero gods have the upper hand, though, as they can channel their mythic powers through their temple and repel the invaders. Once the Lamia are defeated and the cult saved, the adventurers can celebrate with their followers and rejoice, for their quest to shed the curse of all-consuming Ubers was a success. Still, the hero gods know that another, more dangerous task is still ahead of them. Sangay grows more restless, and in order to protect Iblydos, they must stop her before she rises from eons of slumber. That, however, is a story for the next book. The main section of this chapter focuses on Amneros and the various areas there. Mechanically, the goal is for the PCs to gather understanding points. Once a PC has gathered 14 understanding points, they are closer to shedding the curse. The PCs have a week before the effects of the ambrosia wear off, but time moves more or less at the speed of plot in Amneros. Those with a clear mission and who act with the intent of achieving their goals find that they have enough time to do so. Those who stray from their goal, however, will notice that time will run out faster. See the time trap sidebar on page 46 for more information. While I like the fact that time moves differently in Amneros, I'm personally not a big fan of the understanding point system. If you would rather not track these points, you can have the PCs form an understanding of their mythic powers after completing a few essential encounters in Amneros. These encounters include the Hall of Historic Dead, meeting Amnerion, and finally learning from the spirits of the hero gods in the Glades of Euphoria. On their journey into the underworld, the PCs might have lost some of their possessions. They can look for them in the Marsh of Lost Things, a swamp that is filled with the literal remnants of memories lost in Amneros. On their journey through the marsh, the PCs can find their lost items, but might also lose memories once they try to cross the moat of memories. If you want to make these swamps more dangerous and increase their flavor, the PCs might encounter more places that could strip them of memories like the waters of the moat. Perhaps they wander through tall reeds, which might strip some of their surface thoughts, clinging to them like spider silk. You could allow PCs to try and retrieve these memories by physically interacting with the environment and the embodiments of their lost thoughts. Amneros is also a great place for the PCs to encounter any characters that have died earlier in the campaign or spirits of NPCs from the character's past. Depending on how long the spirits have been here, they might have lost most of their memories, but still be able to remember the characters. Depending on their relationship with the PCs, these reunions might be wholesome or dangerous. Additionally, the PCs might actively seek out spirits of lost ones here. This is a great opportunity for some amazing role-playing and an excellent way to have players stray from their mission and challenge the time-warping nature of Amneros. Amneros and its ruler Amnerion offer some very interesting Pathfinder lore. Amneros is basically a space within Pharasma's Spire, and the Lady of Graves has an understanding with the Gigas. The souls of those who die in Iblydos are allowed to reside here, slowly losing their memories, and then join the other dead in the Boneyard. Players versed in the lore of Golarion might already wonder early on how Iblydos has its own underworld, and the rules on page 43 describe what their characters might know about this place. Amnerion is born from Sangay's blood when she fell to Gorum, and the Gigas appreciates beauty as much as their progenitor. As such, many parts of Amneros are not a gray, dreary afterlife. They are filled with statues, paintings, and other works of art. Make sure to describe the beauty of this place, especially once the PCs enter the city of Amnaya. Once they meet Amnerion, any PC who also enjoys art could easily find common ground with the ruler of the dead. The confrontation with the Lamia can feel somewhat random, as the PCs have never met Encelidi or any of the other Lamia. You could have the Lamias be led by the PC's rivals, who try to destroy their cult before it can grow. If you want to foreshadow Peteo's involvement, the rivals could mention him as they fight the PCs, implying that he is aware of their growing popularity. Once the PCs employ the full might of their temple against them, the rivals flee as quick as possible, promising that the characters will rue the day they made enemies out of Aki, Simone, and Ulshuk. In the final book of this AP, Titanbane, the PCs will travel once more across Iblydos to stop Sangay. They learned in Amneros that they require the legendary blade Erekostes to kill her, or find another way to put her back to sleep. On their quest to stop Sangay, the hero gods will be opposed by the Titan's prophet Peteos and his minions, and other threats born from the Titan's mythic energies seeping into the flora and fauna of Iblydos. The PCs have a few days of downtime before the events of the final book begin. This is the perfect time for the characters to manage and engage with their cult, and for the players to use the cult management rules. You should also create space for the players to work on any personal projects their characters might have. Perhaps a spirit they met in Amneros wants them to deliver a final message to their living relatives. Or the PCs want to warn allies all over Iblydos about the dangerous Sanghe poses. Also, take some time between these books to explore how the PCs grow in their role as members of a pantheon and how they engage with their followers. How do the characters express the mantles they have picked up? And which of their virtues and lessons do their followers seek to emulate? Your players have a chance here to establish a setting element that is larger than their characters and can be the perfect foundation for new stories beyond this adventure path. And that's it for this overview of Death Sails a Wine Dark Sea. I hope your group will enjoy this tale of coming into their power as hero gods and performing epic deeds. Let me know in the comments below what you like most about this book, or share your own tips. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, stay safe, take care, and bye-bye.